up, everyone? So, 2024 has come to a close, which means it's time for me to give you my top 10 movies of 2024 vid. I love doing this video every year because it's a nice roundup of all the best movies that I saw this year. Like every year, as always, my only rule for a film to qualify for my top 10 of the year is they have to have seen the film within the last 12 months. I think most of the movies in my top 10 did come out this year, but there might be one or two that come out in the UK next year. I've seen plenty of movies this year, but I've not seen everything that I would have liked to. There were some notable absences on my Letterboxd this year. I haven't seen Alien Romulus, Longlegs, Blink Twice, The Last Showgirl, Speak No Evil, or A Different Man. So yeah, none of those films will be making an appearance in my top 10. If you think any of those films I should be prioritizing to watch, do let me know in that comment section down below. Alright then, let's dive in with number 10. This is always the toughest spot to fill. There were lots of candidates I could have given the 10th spot to, but in the end it did come down to two horror movies, believe it or not. 2024 has been a tremendous year for the horror genre, as you'll see with my picks in my top 10. I really wanted to have this film in my top 10, but it just missed the cut. So I wanted to give an honourable mention to Scott Beck's and Brian Woods' chilling psychological horror, Heretic. This film was one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. A genuinely intelligent horror movie which challenges the viewer as you watch it. It takes a normally dull and preachy subject like religion and manages to make it fun and stimulating. And it gave us another career highlight performance from Hugh Grant as the menacing Mr. Reed. I'm gutted I couldn't find room to squeeze it into my top 10, but it is a phenomenal 11th favourite movie of 2024. There is a review for Heretic on my channel if you want to hear my full thoughts on it, as are many of the films that I mentioned in this list. But yeah, the other horror film of 2024 that just beat Heretic into the top 10 is actually one of the final films I saw of 2024. It is Robert Eggers' gothic fairy tale, Nosferatu. I saw this film maybe a week ago, so there could be a little bit of recency bias at play. The film is still so fresh in my mind, but there is simply no denying the excellence that is on display from every department in every frame of this film. It is clear that Robert Eggers has a deep love for the story and he pays tribute to previous adaptations but still manages to make it feel very much like his own. His marriage of German expressionistic cinema with modern camera work and visceral sound design is genius. Everything about this film is impressive, from the monochromatic cinematography to the satanic score to the transformational prosthetic work, and also how Robert Eggers' script manages to be skin-prickingly atmospheric, but also funny is a staggering accomplishment. At number 9, we have one of those films where I knew very little about it before, but there was a little bit of buzz for it on film Twitter, so I gave it a go. And I came out of this film floored. It's the debut feature film of Italian comedian turned filmmaker Paolo Cortellesi called There's Still Tomorrow, which Cortellesi wrote and also stars in. The film technically came out in 2023, but I didn't get to watch it until April 2024. My friend Kushi and I went to watch this film together and we had no expectations going into it, but we ended up laughing, crying, holding hands in the cinema, and cheering. It's probably one of the lesser known films on my top 10, but it actually was bigger than Barbie, this film, at the Italian box office. Isn't that wild? Set in post-war 1940s Italy, it follows housewife and mother Delia breaking traditions, family patterns, and aspiring to a different future after receiving a mysterious letter. This film truly surprised me. Okay, without spoiling it for you, the entirety of this film is just one big misdirection, but the payoff is so satisfying. It touches upon some serious topics, but it never feels bogged down in the bleakness. It's remarkably uplifting and optimistic. Cortellesi manages to mix comedy, drama, and romance together so beautifully. I can't wait to watch this film again, but currently it's not available to watch anywhere in the UK, like on a streaming service. If you do know where I can find this film, let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, so next up at number 8, we have a film that I had to wait nearly 10 months to watch. It is the tender prison set drama Sing Sing from Greg Quaidar. This film debuted at TIFF 2023, and the first reactions for this film were glowing. And as a Common Domingo fanboy, I couldn't wait to see it. 10 months of anticipation, and when it finally came, this film was everything that I wanted it to be. It's a film that makes you feel so good because it inspires hope. The film stars real-life ex-cons who were reformed and rehabilitated through this arts program at this prison known as Sing Sing. And this film is essentially them telling their story of how they put on this funny mashup play of like Shakespeare, gladiators, like Freddy Krueger. There's all sorts of bits and bobs, and that's a weird amalgamation, but yeah, it was made with love and it was a real thing and they made it into a movie. But ultimately, this film is a reminder of the healing power and also the necessity of the arts. Sing Sing is just a warm blanket of a film, okay? It's the type of film I can see myself putting on when I'm feeling sad or just need to feel a little better about the world. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. At number 7, we have arguably the sexiest film of 2024. It's the sweaty, pulsating tennis drama from Luca Guadagnino, Challengers. Challengers is definitely Guadagnino's most commercial film that he's made, okay? It's the highest takings he's ever had at the box office, but despite all that, Guadagnino's trademarks as an auteur aren't absent from Challengers. Even though he's made a sexy love triangle tennis movie, he didn't sacrifice an ounce of artistic vision. Yes, the plot might be quite simple. It's a love triangle about 3 tennis stars, but Justin Kuritsy's screenplay has far more depth to it than that, okay? It's actually a film about power, semiotics, and desire. Each shot of this film is dripping with sensuality thanks to Sayamba McDeep-Prom's ravenous and luscious cinematography. The 3 performances of Zendaya, Mike Faist, and Josh O'Connor are so perfectly balanced. The Sexified score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is one of the most distinct scores of the entire year. It has been living in my brain rent-free all year. Challengers was Brat before Brat was a thing. Bumpin' that, bumpin' that, bumpin' that, bumpin' that. Challengers is one of those films you want to revisit over and over again because it's fun, it's engaging, it's intelligent, it's so easy on the eyes and the loins. This film was a serve. At number 6, we have one of the films which made me cry the most in the cinema this year. It is Chris Sanders' The Wild Robot. Not lying when I say I was intermittently crying throughout this film. I think I cried like 4 or 5 times watching this movie. Okay, this film turned me into a big old pile of mush. This adaptation of Peter Brown's beloved children's book tells the story of a high-tech robot called Roz, voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, who washes up on this island that's inhabited only by animals and becomes a mother figure to a Canadian goose called Brightbill. This is a film that the kids love because of the cute and cuddly characters, but it hits the parents so much harder when they watch this film because essentially it's a story about the crushing responsibility of being a parent. While it is like the hardest job in the world, it's also the most rewarding one. And Roz is essentially a single mom, okay? It's much harder when you're doing it on your own, but there is so much beauty to find in The Wild Robot. And I'm not just talking about the gorgeous animation, but the score by Chris Bowers is achingly sweet. There's messages in here about chosen family, coming together in unity, looking past our differences and supporting one another. In these chaotic, divisive times, The Wild Robot is very much the movie that we need right now. Next up at number 5, we have another animated film. Oh yes, it's been a good year for horror films, it's been a good year for animated films. And the reason that this film comes one spot higher than The Wild Robot is because I was expecting The Wild Robot to be good, but I wasn't expecting anything from this film, and it ended up being my favorite film of the London Film Festival this year. It is Adam Elliott's Memoir of a Snail. Whoever says that animation is just for children needs to watch Memoir of a Snail, because this is one of the most adult and moving films of 2024. Because admittedly, even I was going into this film expecting it to be some sort of cutesy-wootsy family film, and while it is, it also really isn't. It was a delightful surprise, this film, and subverted my expectations in every way. There's plenty of profanity in this film. At times it's quite raunchy, and there's even some violence, like dismembered limbs. And again, it touches on a lot of dark subjects. But despite the more mature themes, it still manages to retain this feeling of wholesomeness throughout. And it's so damn charming, this film, okay? I can't even tell you the amount of times I audibly went, aww, as I was watching this film in the cinema. But you can really see the love that was poured into this film. Okay, that's the magic of claymation. You can really see the time, the love, and the detail that's put into moving the characters frame by frame. I was absolutely smitten watching this film. I welled up a couple times, and I'm so glad it won the top prize at this year's London Film Festival. The thing we have to remember is that animation isn't a genre, okay? It's a medium through which we can tell very human stories through, just in an alternative way. And sometimes it's even more powerful, just like Memoir of a Snail proves. It's coming to UK cinemas February 2025. Add it to your must-watch lists. At number 4, we have Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding. A big swing and a big hit for me. A delicious genre blend cocktail of erotic thriller, dark comedy, sweaty romance, and body horror. Rose Glass took me on a ride with this film, and to quote Kesha, it was an absolute joyride. What I really loved about this film was just how unpredictable it was, okay? Every time I thought I knew where the plot was going, it would take a sharp left. Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien were one of the most intoxicating on-screen couples of 2024. A Thelma and Louise for a new generation. And Love Lies Bleeding genuinely has some of the best world building of any film I've seen in 2024. It's set in the 80s, but everything in this film looks so used and scuffed. This whole film has this greasy, grimy texture to it. Even though it's a bit nasty, I loved the aesthetic of this film. I love this film so much, I organized a group screening for it. I took 10 friends to see this film, and everybody came out of this film beaming ear to ear. We all loved it. It's definitely one of those films you want to watch with a big group of friends. But yeah, I absolutely love Love Lies Bleeding. All right then, we're at the top 3 now, but before I tell you my top 3, guys, I just want to take a moment to say thank you all who have been supporting me and my channel this past year. It really does mean a lot to me. I sadly didn't reach my end of year goal of getting to 10,000 subscribers, which is a shame, but I know I tried very hard, and I will get there eventually. But for those of you watching who aren't subscribed to my channel, I do make a lot of movie and award season content, a lot of Oscar prediction stuff, so if you like that stuff and you want to help me reach that goal a bit quicker, please do consider hitting the subscribe button, okay? It really does mean so much to me. And for everybody that's watching, you can support the channel by hitting that little like button, or by simply leaving me your top 10 movies of the year in the comment section down below. It's really good for the algorithm, really does help, and I really do appreciate it. So yeah, sincerely, thank you all for your help and support this past year. Okay then, so we're in the end game now. We've reached the top 3, and taking the 3rd place on my top 10 movies of 2024 is the only sequel in my top 10, and it's not even really a sequel, it's just second half of one story, and it is Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi epic Dune Part 2. I loved Dune Part 1, okay, that movie made it into my top 10 movies of 2021 video, but Dune Part 2 is literally the definition of a bigger and better sequel, or part 2 if you will. I loved it even more than part 1. The reason I feel I love part 2 more than part 1 is because part 1 is the setup, and part 2 is the payoff, with a capital P. The first time we watched Paul Atreides ride the sandworm is one for the ages, okay? That was a very special moment to witness on the big screen in IMAX for the first time, okay? Goosebumps, chills, okay? Just wow. For me, the sandworm ride was the set piece of the year. That was one of those rare cinematic moments which you never forget watching for the first time in a cinema. But yeah, the action was better, there was more comedy in this film, you had Javier Bardem bringing a surprising amount of levity to the film. Austin Butler brought a sense of dread to the story with his psychotic antagonist Fade. Plus the romance between Paul and Chani really takes off here and gives the film its heart. Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies represent the peak of blockbuster cinema. It's popcorn escapism executed by an auteur with vision and artistry. All I'll say is that Dune Messiah can't get here fast enough. All right, so at number 2, I have been flip-flopping as to whether I wanted to put this movie in at number 1 or number 2, because honestly, my top 2 movies of the year, I love both of them so much, but for very different reasons, and honestly, either one of them would be a very worthy pick for my number 1 film of the year. I saw both of these films at the Cannes Film Festival this year, so you probably already know what they are. I have seriously put a lot of thought as to how to rank my 1 and 2 for this video. But when it came to picking my number 1, I had to go with the film that impacted me the most. But it doesn't mean that this film that came in at number 2 didn't impact me, because it did. I bloody love this film, okay? It is the Palme d'Or winning film from writer-director Sean Baker, Anora. This movie was a total blast, okay? I saw it in the cinema 3 times. I even organized another big group screening to see this film. I took 15 friends to see this one because, again, like Love Lies Bleeding, it's a film you want to watch with friends. It's no secret that I love Sean Baker, okay? He's been making great movies for ages, but something felt very special about Anora, okay? It finally felt like he had arrived, okay? Like he just entered the big leagues or something. Like he's really mastered his craft with Anora. Anora is a modern, tragedy screwball comedy fairy tale about a sex worker called Anora, or Annie, who's played by Mikey Madison, and she meets a Russian billionaire, falls in love with him, marries him, and then the film takes a shift, and then that's all I'm gonna say. This film is laugh out loud funny, but it also has so much to say about class, power, the American dream. Mikey Madison shines as Annie. It is a star-making turn from her. She brings so much depth and nuance to this character. it might be my favorite performance of 2024. She was just so captivating to watch from the very beginning to the final shot. I loved everything about this film, the performances, the direction, the cocaine-fueled editing, the soundtrack choices, the cinematography, and I do think that Anora is destined to become a future American classic. What a movie. All right, so we're almost at number one, but before we do that, we got to do the honorable mentions, because there was plenty of films this year that I saw that I really enjoyed and I did consider putting on my list, but yeah, these are some of the films that I saw this year that I really loved, but didn't make it onto my top 10. So we've got The Brutalist, Sebastian, Will and Harper, Wicked Part 1, Superman, The Christopher Reeve Story, Queer, We Live in Time, I Saw the TV Glow, The Fire Inside, Thelma, Gladiator 2, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, A Real Pain, Nickel Boys, Inside Out 2, Furiosa, A Mad Max Saga, A Quiet Place, Day 1, The Balconettes, The Fall Guy, Monkey Man, and Twisters. Yeah, I saw a lot of good movies this year, but it's time for me to talk about the best of the best. Alright, so coming in at number one, my favorite film of 2024, as I'm sure you already figured out what it is, because this is the film I've been most vocal about on my channel and on my socials. I have been obsessed with this film since I saw it at Cannes. It is the scathing, satirical body horror extravaganza from Coralie Farja, The Substance. When I was trying to decide what film to put at number one, part of me thought that Anora would be a better pick for number one because it's more of the critically acclaimed film. It won the top prize at Cannes. It has a shot of winning Best Picture at the Oscars, but we'll see about that. That's the outcome that I'm hoping for. Then there's the movies that I just love, like on a core level. The ones that I can't stop talking about, the ones that I push on my friends, the films that I'm so passionate about that I just love talking about them on my YouTube channel for you guys, and that's The Substance. When it comes to the films of 2024, Coralie Farja's The Substance really just feel like the definitive film of 2024, the movie of the moment, the movie of our times, the movie that made the most noise, the success story movie of the year. Sorry to all the Wicked stans. I saw this movie back in May, and no movie has stayed with me more this year than The Substance. Whether you liked it or not, it is truly an unforgettable film. I actually feel like I have been changed forever after having seen this film. Because even though it is a wild, over-the-top, gnarly as fuck body horror, it really did feel like the film this year that had the most to say about the times that we're living in right now. I know the film is about a fading actress longing for her glory days in her youth, but this film's themes are so relevant and so universal. No doubt that women felt closer to the struggles of its protagonist Elizabeth Sparkles, but this film spoke to everybody. Loneliness, irrelevance, aging, death, these are all fears that every human can relate to. Nothing about this film's message is subtle, but it is undeniably effective and a bloody entertaining ride. I knew when I saw this film at Cannes that it was going to make some noise, but I couldn't have anticipated the level of impact this film was going to have. This film sent shockwaves throughout the zeitgeist. This film exceeded expectations of the box office because of the power of word of mouth. People were talking about this movie, encouraging friends to go see it. I actually organized a group trip for my 34th birthday. I took 34 friends to watch this film with me at a cinema for my birthday, because not only was I hungry to watch this film again, but I was so excited to see how all my friends would react to this film. I needed to share in their experience, and sharing the discourse about this film with my friends after we watched it was so joyful, okay? It's so wonderful hearing everyone's perspectives. It's very intellectually stimulating, this film, because everyone has a different reaction, a different opinion on it, but it is a film that people want to talk about. This is one of those movies that prompts discussion, it prompts debate, okay? It is operating on so many levels, this film. And even though the film is disgusting in places, it's body horror with a purpose, okay? It has a point of view. It speaks to that universal fear of us getting older. It shines a light on society's unrealistic beauty standards and how this cultural obsession of youth and beauty is having this detrimental effect on us, of us hating what we're seeing in the mirror. Okay, this film is powerful, all right? It's essential. This was also a movie for movie lovers because Coralie Farja wears her influences on her sleeves. You can see the references to The Shining, Carrie, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Psycho, but you just know that The Substance is going to be one of those films that inspires a whole new generation of future filmmakers. This really is something special. When 2024 started, I didn't think that a grotesque body horror film would end up being my favorite film of 2024, but Here we are. The Substance might not be a conventional pick, but I know in my heart that no other film of 2024 has had more of a profound impact on me than Coralie Farjar's The Substance, which is why it is my #1 film of 2024. I absolutely love this film. Thank you so much, Coralie Farjar. But there we have it, guys. Those are my top 10 movies of 2024. What do you think of my picks? And what are your top 10 movies of 2024? Whatever you have to say, do let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, help me out by hitting that little thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for watching, guys. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and I'll see you in 2025. And remember, take care of yourself.